views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
To Bella's Fashionistas Home Edition. I am your host, Fleriser Bello. It is a pleasure to have you join us on this beautiful afternoon. We trust that you and your loved ones are well and staying safe. In today's Bella's Fireside Chat conversation, we welcome award-winning actress, TV, film, and digital producer, real estate stager, and interior designer, founder, and owner of JCL Staging and Design, a staging and design firm rapidly growing into a bold and well sought out brand by top producing real estate brokers in the luxury residential market in New York City. Please join me in welcoming former Bella's Trailblazer Latina and Hondureña Julia Carias-Linares. Julia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today. It's wonderful to see you and it's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to welcome you back into our home studio, Julia. As you know, everyone, Julia was our season episode 3 of Bella's Trailblazer back in 2018. Julia, it has been such a long time.
I know. I can't believe it's been already, oh my God, 2 years going into 3, right?
Yes. What an incredible time and year. Everyone, Julia at the time was working as an executive producer at A&E Networks. And also she had started with her company, JCL Interior Design. Now, Julia, tell us more about yourself and what it is that you do.
Like you mentioned, I wear multiple hats. I've been fortunate enough that I have experienced so many different things, from being an artist to being a producer, and now segueing into a stager and designers, and just being an all-out entrepreneur, right? After leaving corporate America, which was, you have, you're working a stable job, you have security, and then made the decision to launch my staging and design business. And the way that happened was sort of, not by accident, because I don't think anything is an accident, but it was just interesting. We had the network had canceled show with a big brand, a lifestyle show, and they brought in all the furniture to the headquarters, sold it to the employees for a fraction of the price. And the idea was that anything sold during that sale would go back to charity. And so I bought quite a few pieces and revamped my home. And then at the time I was doing home shows I had helped launched their lifestyle network, and we were doing home shows, we were doing food shows, and it was sort of a natural thing because I had always been a fan of home shows. And so I remember mentioning to someone, a cousin of mine who's a contractor, that I wanted to have a staging and design business. And I got to tell you, be careful what you wish for, because you might just get it. Literally 2 weeks later, I got my first referral, and I got my first job within like 3 weeks of, saying that I wanted to do that. So yeah, it's been quite an experience. And then, sort of juggling, right? Because that was sort of like the side hustle, juggling. And we started getting busier and busier, and things were changing at the network. And I said to my husband, I said, I think I'm going to do this full time. And of course, him being the numbers guy, he was like, wait a minute, are you sure? And I said, it feels right. We're getting very busy. Let's see what happens. And I actually, I said, God, send me a sign that this is the right move. Because of course you still want to be responsible. You want to do what you love to do, right? But you still want to be responsible at home. And I got to tell you, this happened on a Tuesday. On a Sunday, I get a phone call from the last real estate broker I had worked with. And she said, are you sitting down? We've been featured in the New York Times. So it was very, very exciting, and a blessing. And so that's when we decided, like, well, maybe this is the right move, right? And I took a leap of faith.
Welcome to the boat. I went through not the similar process that you went through, but it's very, very similar. When I left the 9 to 5 to be going independent, and it has been blessedly, I would say, 8 years.
Amazing.
8 years that I've been independent. It's not an easy ride. A lot of people think that when you're an entrepreneur, that is a linear line. No, you go up and down. But it is the best experience I've ever had. And I would not change it for the world.
You have to reinvent yourself every time, right? Every season. And so being the artist, because I've always loved the arts, I think that this was a different kind of business that allowed me to generate income, but at the same time continue to be artistic, right? Because it allowed me, I felt like, okay, this is wonderful. Here you have taking beautiful listings and apartments and just making them even more beautiful and helping the buyers fall in love with the place. So, but in the midst of this, because I could never do one thing at a time, I still was producing, I still was collaborating with other colleagues, and also my mind always thinking, right, how do I elevate this business? How do I make this brand new like company, right, and let people know that we exist? And I said, wait a minute, I know how to create TV. I'm gonna make a show around it. And so I called my friends who are incredible producers, and I pitched them the idea, and they loved the idea. And we put together a sizzle. We pitched it around. At the time, we were getting a lot of like, well, it's too wholesome. There's not enough drama, because I wanted to create something that was going to be aspirational. A lot of times with these reality shows, you see a lot of cattiness, a lot of fighting in between women and not really collaborating. And I think that one of the reasons why Sex and the City, for example, was so successful, and still to this day people love that show, is because you had the camaraderie of 4 women that no matter what happened, right, they will fight, they will have their mishaps, but they always managed to come together. And I think that that's what I always want to focus on, creating content that reflects the kind of life that I want to live. And also, most importantly, I think, is also bringing in, like, we owe it to the next generation of young women, right, to be an example and say, you know what, we can work together. But yeah, I wanted to create something. And so we pitched it, and, again, we didn't sell it. But we decided, well, with today's technology, we're going to launch it on our own. And that's what we're in the process of doing. We're in the process of doing that. So I have my hands on a lot of different things.
And you've been doing so many things. How exciting is that? I see you producing, Omni Festival, teaming up with other Latina powerhouses, and it's just making happen. So I'm so proud of you. You're such an inspiration.
My career started in front of the camera. I actually auditioned for Selena, got really close to that role. And I decided to pursue an acting career. My mom was not very happy about it, but at the end she was supportive, but I had decided that I'm always trying to find solutions, right? And at the time, I wasn't being cast because I was either too Latina, too New Yorker. And I decided, well, how about if I produce? I could produce and I can do my own thing. And so that's where I segue into producing. But I started off as an actor. And so when this project came along, Perception, the writer director Andres Arias said to me, I came in originally as an executive producer, and he was having a hard time finding an actress to play the character who happened to be Hondureña. And he said to me, why don't you, you're an actress, why don't you do the role? And I'm like, I don't know. At the time I had so many things on my plate. And I said, well, no, I think that I just want to be an executive producer. Let's just try to find somebody else. And he said, okay. But then he came back again and he said, I really want you to play this role. And what attracted me about that particular project, short film about a Honduran woman who has to leave her country. And it was during the time where we were seeing a lot of the caravan, that are people that were traveling from Central America to the US. And immigration is something that is very close to my heart. It's something that I've experienced. It's something that I have had families and friends who've experienced it. And I just thought that it was, again, one of those stories, one of those narratives that can help us see immigration from the other perspective, right? And I decided to do it, and we've been very fortunate. We've been nominated for 20 awards, and we won 14 of those awards, and 2 of them were for Best Actress. So I'm excited, I'm proud, and I just have been very fortunate to work with wonderful professionals that know how to execute it and bring it home.
What is JCL Staging and Design?
JCL Staging and Design is a boutique firm working with the luxury real estate market. And it was born out of my experience in producing home shows. And the goal here is to create a multi-million-dollar firm that will service that market.
Could you tell us your experience when COVID hit and how you have been able to pivot on the virtual transition as we are?
Just like many businesses, we had to come to a complete stop. And obviously, our job is going into spaces and recreating and reinventing those spaces. But once, obviously, some of the things that we did is trying to stay in touch with people, trying to learn while we were at a pause, right? Figuring out who else in our industry, what else were they doing, trying to get as much information, trying to learn and utilize that time to educate ourselves, right? And then once they started opening up, we again, as a small business, a young business trying to penetrate this particular industry, it's been a lot of work. And so we had to put protocol in place, try to figure out what those mandates from the state and the city to try to stay abreast, because our main goal is to make sure that, beyond everything else, that our staff is safe and that the people that we interact are safe. And so implementing a protocol that will help us maintain those safety. The way we've been able to pivot, it's like think outside the box. Okay, we can't go in there right now. What else, right? What else can we do? And so we're working and trying to figure out collaborations with other small businesses and other businesses that we can, go into partnerships. And one of the things that we're thinking is having our own accessory line, the JCL accessory line. And then eventually, like my goal have always been like maybe there's room to be to have a furniture line. And so, you start off slow and small. But yeah, those are the things we have to reinvent ourselves, right? And then also in the meantime, figuring out like maybe art, collaborating with some artists who have said to us, if we can place some of the art in your listings, you get, creating other revenue streams, and that's what we've been trying to do. It's only been but a couple of weeks, right? Less than a month since we've opened, that we've been able to go into these spaces. But yeah, that's what we're doing, and hopefully, again, shooting the show, and that's another way, another business, and that's what we're trying to do. Just kind of pivoting and making sure that our staff and the people that we interact and that are safe, number one, but also to ensure that we're creative, right? If this happens to us again, God forbid, anything, we know that there are multiple revenues of, stream of revenue in our portfolio. So always diversifying. I think that's always been my thing, making sure that we diversify. And in the midst of all this, also, I have a production company that I'm also running. So I'm running two businesses here, and it's crazy. It's a lot of work. But yeah, it's figuring out ways of collaboration, partnerships, and just how do we reinvent ourselves in a way that we can utilize technology, and we're even thinking maybe tapping into the digital staging.
We will take a quick break, and when we return, Julia will discuss, despite COVID pandemic, how she and her team were able to pivot throughout this pandemic. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Julia, despite COVID and a lot of businesses being closed, of course, your business in real estate, it's showing significant numbers of increasing in sales. Tell us more about how JCL has been able to have successful stories despite this pandemic.
I think what we've seen is a demand in the real estate market, right? So what we're looking at is that people are looking to buy and they're looking to sell. Those who were in the city are looking to go into the suburbs, have more space, more greenery. And then we have those who are looking to buy because it's a good financial move. And so what we're seeing is people having different financial choices and really taking advantage of what the market is showing. And so we've been fortunate enough to get a lot of requests for proposals. And what we're trying to do is really customizing those proposals and facilitating incentives for our clients, and really crushing the numbers, because we know people are making choices very strategically, financial choices strategically. So, and then the other piece of it is really focusing on our relationships, right? Relationships is everything. What's been fascinating is that one of those proposals that came back was actually my first client, that guy that I told you who gave me that first job. He actually came back and actually was a repeated customer. It was a repeated client that we did a smaller unit for him. They sold it rather quickly, and he wanted to. He's now selling his penthouse, and so he reached out to us. The real estate agent reached out to us, and we were really able to be methodical about our numbers, and without sacrificing the design, right? Because that's always a very careful balance that we have to make sure, because we are focusing on that luxury market, and so it's we just got to be really thoughtful about how we put the design together, and really being conscious that, people are going to be really careful how they're investing their money. But definitely there's been a demand in the market, is there, and we're just trying to, again, just really focus on working on those relationships and really doing a good job at making sure that we deliver at a certain level of luxury and yet be financially conscious.
Tell us a little bit of those clients. Are they more in the city? Are they spread around in the suburbs, Greenwich, perhaps?
So I would say 95% of our clients are New York City clients. They might live somewhere else in the world. We've had somebody who was in France, or we had somebody that was on the West Coast, but they had property here in the East Coast, in New York City specifically. And these are people that often have more than one home, more than one unit. And so you see a variety. I mean, sometimes we also see, people selling their first home in order to buy their second home. But it's been interesting, because I think that the lowest price unit that we've staged has been at the $900,000 mark. It's been interesting. And we recently did a $13 million right before COVID hit. And right now we're focusing on $3 million, in the range of 2.5, $3 million range, $4 million range. So that's been very interesting. But with that said, that clientele expects a certain level of work, a certain level of design, a certain level of furniture, right? It has to be at that level. So it's very demanding, but also very gratifying, because there's nothing more gratifying for us than to have a space that's already beautiful be even more beautiful, and ultimately sell fast because of our work. And interesting enough, the reason why people stage, I mean, this reason number one is because most buyers don't have the vision to see how they can, I guess, furnish that space. But also, and most interestingly, is that spaces look smaller when they are unfurnished. And so, the space, you can really maximize a space. I remember the one that was featured in the New York Times. When we first took a look at it, it had furniture because there were tenants. This was one of the individuals that was not living in the States. And the way the tenant had it set up, it was like a long living room dining space. And we strategically put the furniture a specific way that we were able, not only were we able to get, they had like a 2-seater bar dining situation happening. After we were done, we had 4 seating. We had, a full couch, a sitting, even a sitting area. And then we were able to add a working space in the space that the broker walked in. She was like, "Oh my God, you just added a complete other section, right? Another space, another area that was normally, I don't know, a 2 area, the dining and the living room. We created an additional space." So I think it's about being smart. As we know, New York City apartments are very small. And so we're working with small spaces, and also being strategic with our furniture. You can't put large furniture in a small space, because clearly it's going to make it look smaller. So using a lot of glass, using a lot of mirrors, using a lot of, light colors, because that will impact the way we visually see the space. So it's really being, putting in those skills, those design skills into play, and really looking at the space. No different than you would look at a movie. You want to appeal to the masses. And so that is no different. As a stager, you want to appeal to the masses.
Tell us about the recent work that you did that I actually saw on your social media, where you were able to set up the stage for a video promo.
When we think about how do we pivot, right? You asked that question, and it's really looking outside the box, right? Our bulk of the work comes from real estate, but my background in television and film, here is another opportunity. So I've been able to, again, tap into those relationships and really find different projects within the media space. So we were fortunate enough to work with my old community, my old family, my A&E family, who essentially we worked on a promo for one of their shows that was premiere on the History Channel. So that was very exciting because it was different. It had a specific kind of aesthetic. The turnaround, it's always a fast turnaround. What am I saying? Every client wants it done yesterday.
Yes,
But it was fun because I was working with people who I had worked with before. I understood what they wanted. We executed, and at the end, they were extremely happy with the work. And again, collaborating with different businesses, we were able to actually commission one of the artists that we're working with, Joel Bermano, who specifically did an art piece for that set design. And so it was exciting, to be working with people that I love and I've worked with before, but also now changing a little bit the narrative. Right now we're dealing with media, and it was a fun and it was quick. We did it. Unlike staging, which is a 3-month contract, this was a pretty fast turnaround. Once the set design was done, we just waited for them to shoot it, and then they're like, okay, come and pick up your stuff. So that was great. And again, it goes back to what you were saying. How do we shift? How do we make it work? How do we think outside the box and figure out how to get clients in a different space, doing something different, but yet still utilizing the art of design.
What's next for JCL?
With JCL, again, we're excited about the project with the TV show. We're also exploring other opportunities in the media space, but we also want to really focus on being involved with talented young people who are looking to do interior design. Really want to focus on that, and try to highlight and bring talent, nurture talent. I think that for me is very important. I talked about that a little earlier when I was talking about my media world, in my space in the media world. It's going to be very important. So doing that, and then again, just finding a way to get the word out, working with the relationships that we have, and getting the word out that we exist. I think that that's going to be important in our success, in our growth, and just trying to figure out another way to launch this accessory line. So the accessory line, the show, and working with young talent that are looking to be in the design space. So I'm excited about that. And we're growing as a company, right? I'm working with an incredible team. My COO, Christina Sodano, has been incredible. She comes with new ideas. She's someone who's ran a business before, and so we're excited. We're really excited about our growth.
I didn't quite say this before, but Julia is one of my mentors and advisors who I constantly run up to and say, hey, Julia, I have this. What do you think? Thank you for being an invaluable supporter to Bello Fashionistas, and obviously to me as a beginner. And of course, we're all growing every day.
Absolutely. I think that what's beautiful is when somebody calls you for advice and they actually implement the advice. And it's wonderful. And I'm just so happy to be able to be here for you, and anything that you need, I'm here.
How can people contact you?
You can go to our website, www.jclstaging.com. You can follow us on all our social media handles are at JCL Staging Design.
Thank you for joining us. Be sure to follow us on social media at Bellas Fashionistas and our media partner at BronxNet TV. To watch more of our programming, please visit our websites at bellasfashionistas.com and our media partner at bronxnet.org. Please be safe. Have a great day.